delighted to welcome a music legend in Judy Collins to Wickham. Welcome to Wickham.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Now you've got a real affinity with England, haven't you?
Yes, well, I'm half English, so that's also a part of it. But I've been coming to England since 1965, and I loved being here.
And a good rapport with the fans over here.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
After all this time, I hope so.
Yeah. Well, you say after all this time, you were kind enough to do a very nice chat with us for our website. Which,
I'm glad.
Which I had very good feedback on, so thank you for that.
Good.
We're talking, it's been such a remarkable long career where you've packed so much in and still going strong.
Yeah. Well, I love what I do. And I was lucky to have been chosen for the right career so that I have a chance to sing, to write songs, to perform, to write books, to work with other artists. I mean, it couldn't be better. All that training, all those years and years and years of playing the piano and learning to sing and having teachers who knew how to teach. So, I mean, when you can make use of all your early years and all your hours of training.
Which is your favourite discipline? Obviously, you write and you do everything. Is it still singing?
All of them have to be attended to. Mm-hmm. The practicing, the singing, the writing, the creativity, they're all pieces in a puzzle. And one of them reflects on the other. So if you're writing a book, it also reflects in your songwriting. If you're writing songs, it reflects in what you choose to do with other artists. It's a very much of a mosaic, I believe.
Yeah. And so, talking about other artists, I saw you just now with your old friend Graham Nash.
Oh, yes. We know each other almost, oh my God. Actually, I know David Crosby for 60 years. I only know Graham since 69, I guess.
Yeah, still plenty long enough. What, 50 years?
A long time. Yeah, 50 years.
And you're still as passionate about all the causes that are close to your heart?
Everything that I can do something about, I try to. But, of course, there are so many causes now that it's hard. Every time you blink, there's another one.
So, did you take a conscious decision because you felt you had a voice, that you had a responsibility to speak out?
No, I was trained that way. I was raised in a family where my dad was a radio personality who spoke out about everything, about the Vietnam War, about McCarthy. He did not hold back ever, and taught all of us the same thing, all four of my siblings, and I have always done what we can. I don't think it's a matter of if you have the voice. I think everybody has a voice, whoever they are. And it's quite evident that people get out, they talk about things they believe in, they march, they vote. Not as many as should, but a lot of them do. So that's the key, is to do whatever you can. And everybody can do something.
So does that give you hope back home at the moment?
Yes, it does.
Because it's
I read a lot of history, so I have a lot of hope.
So you feel that history sometimes repeats itself and that we're in a downward cycle at the moment?
I like somebody said, and I don't remember, who was it who said, history may not repeat itself, but it rhymes. Yeah. Yes, of course it does. And we always think when we've done something and feel that we've had a success in politically or socially, then we think, well, that's it, that's done and dusted, but it's never that way. It always comes back.
We can never get complacent.
No, people, so many young women, for instance, thought that abortion was a natural thing, that they all had the right, and it was, well, hello, not so quickly.
Can you believe how quickly that changed, by the way?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I can believe it because these people are crazy. I can believe it because there are a lot of people who are mentally disturbed and socially irresponsible. Mm-hmm. Lots of them. And, they too can vote. They too can take efforts to put history back a million years if they could. So, you can expect the worst from the worst and the best from the best.
Well, 'twas ever thus, I guess.
And every once in a while you can convert somebody, but don't bet on it.
But I think probably at a place like Wickham and probably most of your audiences, you're finding like-minded souls. Would you say that people that are open-minded enough to...
Well, I think there's a huge percentage of people who love our music. I mean, I'm talking about Graham and about me and about the artists who come here. I think there's a huge percentage of the people who come to these festivals are already on our side, or we're on theirs.
Yeah. Well, we could do with that in this country at the moment, I think.
Well, we're all up against the same problem, which I believe the fundamental issue is immigration, and I think it's the bane of our struggles. I read something so interesting. This is from a book that I read every day called 365 Tao by Ming Do Dang. And here's what it says. It says, "To be an immigrant is to be solitary in the midst of millions. Immigrants travel from their native lands for many reasons, but in general, they all involve expectations for a better life. For this, they will risk uncertainty, exploitation, discrimination, hostility, poverty, and sometimes even separation from family. Those who survive develop an inner fortitude and determination that sees them through their suffering. The preservation of spirituality is as much a concern as anything else. Spirituality, except in its highest stages, has a definite cultural context. There is spirituality that takes its power from the land, culture, and time. That is why most types of magic will not work outside their native lands. Immigrants try either to maintain their native beliefs or to adopt the beliefs of their host country. The first option is difficult. They're in a culture incompatible with their native beliefs and will sustain their spirituality only if it was already strongly established." And they go on. The host country's spirituality they must learn on an entirely new system. In either case, immigrants must cope with the problems of conflict between two cultures until they reach a spiritual stage where cultural references become meaningless. So we have a responsibility. You know, it's interesting to contrast what goes on here with Brexit and the issues of the EU and what that all the context of that means for immigration. But we in the United States, we have a different responsibility because nobody in the United States was born as an original citizen. Maybe the Indians, but I don't think so. I think they came across the Bering Straits from Russia, probably. Everybody else and the original people were wiped out by something a gajillion years ago. So everybody is an immigrant. We're all immigrants. And if we give that right, if we take away that right of becoming part of the fabric of the country, which is very much based on the things that immigrants, all of us have offered through the centuries.
Well, we're certainly very glad that you've come to our country, and
thank you.
So looking forward to it. Thank you for your time.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.